Hi there, I'm AYB, founder of Spark AI, where we help businesses automate their process and implement AI in their workflows. Today, I'll be talking about everything I know about Zapier and OpenAI's ChatGPT. So let's jump straight into it. First, I will walk you through what exactly is OpenAI and what is ChatGPT. I'm going to look at what exactly is Zapier, then we're going to look at how can we connect Zapier and ChatGPT, and then we're going to look at different types of model and the tasks that we can use them for. And we're going to look at memory key, temperature, P, prompting, assistance, and we're going to look at two live builds that implements every of the things that we've been talking about. So let's jump straight into what I have for you today. So one thing that I want you to understand is that there is a difference between OpenAI and ChatGPT. OpenAI is the company that actually created a language model called ChatGPT, where you can input text and it will give you a human-like text response, right? And then it helps you to actually carry out tasks, right? So that's like major difference between two of them. So we have Zapier. Zapier is an automation tool, a no-code automation tool that helps to connect web apps together. So now Zapier can connect over 2,000, over 8,000 apps. Let me jump straight into it so I can show you now. So if I come over to this place and I click on zapier.com and /apps, you see that, and this will move us to like the app directory of Zapier, where we have number of listed apps that you can actually integrate or connect to their platform. We have over 8,683 apps, right? So there's any app that is actually very popular. You have them right here in Zapier. So let's say you receive an email and then you want to actually use that email, the details in that email, to actually create a deal in your HubSpot. You can do that with Zapier, right? So let's continue. And so Zapier can connect every of these things. So hence Zapier is used as an automation tool, right? So what's now the combo of Zapier and ChatGPT? Before ChatGPT came, Zapier was used mainly as an automation tool, like I said earlier, and the workflow was actually much more deterministic, because you can know that okay, this will trigger the workflow and this will be carried out and the workflow will end, right? But with the advent of ChatGPT, we can actually plug AI into our workflows. We can say we can make decisions. So AI can help us make decisions and say, okay, we can say output this if you find this, output that if you find this, or something like that. So we have a much more not really deterministic. It can go through different trees, right? Decision trees, right? So that's exactly, it has more like 100x the power of Zapier. So we can use ChatGPT to more of like do add AI in our workflows and make it much more powerful. Make AI make automation much more powerful. Hence the term AI automation, right? So how can we connect this duo? You need a Zapier account and you need an OpenAI platform account. I mentioned, as you can see here, I highlighted OpenAI platform, and I want to actually make a clarification here. We have two types of accounts. We have the normal ChatGPT accounts, where you come over here, chatgpt.com, where you can, this is more of like the normal user account, right, where everybody use. You can just come over here and then you ask any question. But we have another account called the platform .openai account, where I will show you how to look. You just click on, just go to platform.openai.com. Right, if you click on that, you can. I don't want to. So if I go to platform.openai account, I already have an account. So the account is actually quite different from the normal ChatGPT. The ChatGPT account costs you about $20 per month, right? But this particular account, the platform account, is a user based, is based on usage, right? So it is pay as you go, like as much credit you can use, right? So if you load about $50 worth of credits, it's not going to expire the next month, unlike ChatGPT that will expire every month, every time. But once you actually you have recharged this particular stuff, you get to use it every time until you have actually used up all of your credits. So you come over to dashboard, you can see that the backend, right? This is where we have access to the API key, right? The backend is quite similar to the front end. You can just type any prompt that you actually want here, and it will give us our response, right? So here is where we are going to get our API key. You click on this settings icon, and then you copy the org ID. And then if you go over to this particular stuff, you also get the API key. You click on this create new API key, and you just say create a new API. I can just call this let's call this Zapier test, right? So if I just click on that and I choose a project, right, and then I can create this particular key. So it's going to give me an API key. So I just copy this particular API key, but this account is not active, so I've connected my API key already. So let me just use my dummy account so that you can see exactly how I did it. If I cancel this particular stuff here, cancel it here. So if I want to connect another account, I'll just come over to this place and I click on connect account, and then it's going to pop up a page where I'll have to put my API key, and then I'll have to put my org ID. So this is where I paste my API key, and I'll paste my org ID right here, and I'll click on yes to continue, right? So after I've continued, my account will be automatically connected, right? So that's exactly how to connect your Zapier account with your OpenAI platform account, right? So after I've done this and your account have been created, you have to know, okay, which model do you want to use and what tasks do you actually want to use these models for. So before now, we have always been using the GPT-4 series, right? And before then, we use GPT 3.5 Turbo. Is used for a much more grunt-oriented task, right? Tasks that really don't need high cognitive power, right? So tasks that are like, let's say, extracting, formatting, and all those kind of stuff. But when we are talking about tasks like generating email, content creation, and all that, we use a higher model like the GPT-4. Right now, when we have GPT-5, a multimodal GPT, where we have like when it can do so much function, we can actually use it for like quite a spectrum of tasks. Like we can actually use it for generating emails, replying to customer, and sentiment analysis. When I mean sentiment analysis, I'm saying like for decision making, right? So for the GPT-5, we have about two other variations. We have GPT-5, which one the GPT-5 is actually much more is high powered and actually high function GPT, high performance, right? So if you want something that is lighter, you can use the GPT-5 mini, right, which is lighter, and then we can use the GPT-5 nano because it's actually gives priority to speed and it's actually budget friendly. So GPT-5 nano is budget friendly, and also the GPT-5 mini if you don't want to compromise performance, so you can use these models, right? But for now, GPT-5 is really still glitchy and I really don't use it. In this particular video, I actually use GPT-4 not, which is commonly very reliable, and then I don't have to like worry about anything. So we have to look at something called memory key. What is memory key? Memory key is just like an alphanumeric character where you put in your particular. Let me show you exactly where you put it. So if I come over to this particular if I come over to my Zapier account here, if I click on Zapier.com and I want to create a particular let's say I want to create a particular workflow. If I click on this create Zap and I come over to this particular so if I come over to this particular place where we have, I'm trying to like my editor, right? So this is where I can choose the kind of app. So I just click on ChatGPT. I come over on ChatGPT and I can also choose ChatGPT here, right? Now, when connecting this particular stuff, I will have to choose the particular event I want to do. Most of the time, we use conversation. Conversation is the most popular event that we use here. You see conversation, you click on conversation, and then when we are like trying to continue this particular step, so we will be prompted with the page to choose the kind of model we want and to put the prompt, right? So this is where we put the prompt, right? And this is where we put the instruction. Right slightly under where we put the prompt, we have something called memory key. So this is where we put the alphanumeric character. You can just say text, email. You can just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. So what this is used for, let's say I want to generate an email and I want this email to be consistent every time, right? Anytime I use that output, I can use this memory key to lock in that particular content. So if I lock in that content what happens is that every time I run this particular step, this particular the API key, this memory key will tag that response, and every time I'll always get a consistent response every time. So that's exactly what memory key is used for, right? Memory key is used for to ensure consistency. As you can see here, consistency. That's the word. Consistency is what memory key is used for. So let's move into some other parameters like temperature. What exactly is temperature used for? Temperature is used for creating the sense of creativity. It's just the spectrum between creativity and randomness. So a lower value is much more deterministic, predictable, and focused. Right? While higher value is like creativity, much if you want to increase the creativity, much more random, right? But most of the time we also focus on lower values, right? I really don't even mess up with these parameters when setting up automation, because there's no much need for this. Is when you are trying to do tasks that are very specific and detail oriented. That's why you try to just tweak some of these parameters. But for tasks that are very simple and basic, you don't need to tweak these parameters, right? So we have top P. Top P is actually also like temperature, but it's used for also measuring randomness, right? I normally don't touch this stuff, right? Except I want to do a very high level task, right? That's when we mess up with this. For now, let's just leave it like this for this video, right? So we have prompting. Prompting is just a technique where you actually give an instruction to an AI model, and then it generates a text in response. So we have two techniques that we actually use for to prompt. We have zero shot prompting and we have few shot prompting, right? So zero shot prompting is more of like we're going to give the model quite an example of all of the we're not giving the model an example, right? We're just giving it a direct instruction. We're not giving it the pattern to recognize. So all of the instruction contains everything that it needs. But few shot prompting, we're actually giving it quite a number of examples so that it can recognize the pattern and give us the best response, right? Now, so that's exactly what I said here, and we're going to. So we have assistant. So assistant is more of like a very much more personalized. If you actually want to get a much more personalized response, assistants are actually used, right? So we use it to tailor ChatGPT to give us a very detailed and much more personalized response, right? And we're actually going to be building two workflows, right? One will be an assistant base where we create an assistant that will go and look into a knowledge base and fetch results, and then we'll create an AI automated customer response. So let's jump into these workflows one after the other. The first one I want to show you is this one where I have to like the automated email response. So let me walk you through every of the step process. The first thing is that I have a form, right? The form is a Tally form. So Tally is a form builder where you can use Tally to collect form responses. And then I like Tally because Tally is free. Tally does not have limits monthly, and then like seriously, it's just very good. The interface is very okay. I think it's an extension of Notion. So I like it. So let's say I have somebody that wants to fill up my form. Let's call this person let's call him Frank. So Frank surname is Ramsey. So Frank Ramsey, and then let's call it Frank at ramseysolution.com, right? So we have this particular stuff here. So let's say his company is called Ramsey Solution, right? And they're a consulting company, right? So we have it right here. So the next thing I want to do is they're interested in our service. Let's say they're interested in process mapping, right? And then they got to know us through YouTube, right? So if I submit this particular step now, what will happen is that this workflow will be triggered, right? And you can see that the name of the form is contact form, right? If I continue this step, then this is exactly when we have this AI step, right? I'm going to walk you through every of the thought process that made me set up this thing. So the first thing is that I chose the GPT-4 Not model, right? And then I wrote a couple of prompts. So the way I write my prompts is that I come over to ChatGPT and then I explain everything I want to do, right? So ChatGPT is more of like my prompt engineer. So I just say, okay, create a prompt for me that helps me do something like this, and then Yeah. So I said create a prompt that extracts, that generates email, and then give me this particular prompt that I have here. If I go back, you see generate. So this is the prompt: generate a short and professional and direct email body, right? And then to in response to like the inquiry about Spark AI, and then these are the inputs from the field. Like this is the input from the field, like I mean the form field. So we have the name, email, right? And then we have the name of the company, and then how can we help you, and then where they go to hear about us. So I added some instructions. Like first instruction is that acknowledge the receipt of the inquiry. I want you to also mention that mention it in a very natural way, and I also want you to keep your tone professional, and I want you to say that we are going to get back to our team is going to get back to them. And one thing I also want you to do is that I want you to not mention their name inside the email body, and I also don't want you to add any subject line, right? Don't sign off, and I want this entire email body to be like 4 to 5 sentences long, right? And then locked in and a memory key, and voila. So one thing I did, remember I said that in the previous step, I really don't want to generate a subject line. So this is the another model, another step that I want to use to generate a subject line. So I said something like, based on this email body, like the response from the previous step, right? And I said, generate a short subject line, no text or apostrophe before or after the subject line. It's very important that you give this kind of much more very defined instruction, or else it will just be going off rambles and be adding apostrophe, which is much more not professional at all, right? So I always like to add this no apostrophe after or before. So after I've done that, next thing I want to do is that I want to now according to the form, if you check the form, you see that I have something quite. If you check the form body, if I come over here, you see that the form is actually the name is actually together. So I need the name, the first name of the person, right? So that I can personalize the email and make it much more warm, right? So I'm using a particular step called formatter by Zapier, and I'm using the function text. So in this function, there's a particular sub function called split text. If you don't know what formatter by Zapier is, I have a video in my Zapier basics called formatter by Zapier. You can go and watch it. And right, so we have split text, right? Split text is actually used for splitting text, like the word implies, right? So I'm going to put the entire name here, and now it will ask me what is the separator. I'll say space. So what does this mean? I'm saying whenever there is a space, I want you to split the text into two separate fields. So segment index is separate fields, right? So after I've done that, I can now send the email, right? So this is the email of the person that sends me that particular stuff, right? And I can put the email subject like we generated. Now the email body is going to be HTML, right? Because I really want it to be much more professional and I want it to be nice, right? So you can see I added some breaks here and then HTML tags, right? It's not difficult. You can just look at this up on Google. It's very easy to write, right? So and I also so after that I can just send this particular email. So if I send this email, I am going to get a particular response. If I retest this step, I'll get a response in my email, right? And my email is loading right now. It's pretty nice. So this is one of the application of ChatGPT and Zapier, where we can actually auto generate an email response, a much more personalized. It's not just email. Imagine filling the website about 5 minutes later, and then you get an email that says that okay, as you can see here, I have a step. I have a step here that says so come over here. I'm trying to like still load my stuff. So if you can see here, I'm now. So this is the step before now. So I want to test the step again so that you can see the response, right? If I test the step, you see the response that was generated from the person, right? You're still loading. Still loading, still loading, still loading. So if you have, it's always good for you to like have these workflows in your arsenal, like your workflow arsenal, right? Where you can have, sorry, I think there's a timeout issue there. So this was the exact email that was sent, right? You can see, thanks for reaching out to us. Amic.com full. That was like our initial one. Let me show you. That's because I really didn't. I think their website is down. I'm trying to reload this so that I can get it up and running back. So the editor is still on the way, right? So if I come over here, so what happened is because the form response we used was not yet was not. So I come over here and I test this. If I generate another test response, you can. I generate another test response. If I find new record, it should be like the latest record I pulled in. Remember John Fraser? No, not John Fraser. We have a record that we pulled in recently. Yeah, Sarah Frank Ramsey. So if I use this particular and I continue with this particular step, so we're going to get an email from Ramsey for Ramsey actually. So this is one thing that is very, very important about this particular. So I'm going to continue with this step. Okay. I'm going to continue. 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 I'm going to continue until I get to like the last step. So that's exactly where I will now retest the continue. Right, continue. So, so I can now. This is where I can now test the step. I come over here and then click on the test step. I will get an email, right? So you can see an email has been sent to my inbox. You get it right now. Okay. So exactly 10:53, an email was sent, and this is not the most updated email. Let me reload so I can. I don't know why Gmail is actually having. Let me retest the step. So sent an email. And Gmail is actually acting funny. And Gmail is actually acting funny. But normally it happens like that. Sometimes maybe Gmail server is down or like that. It just happens, right? If I reload this particular stuff, I've been reloading. Let me send that particular stuff again. Okay, sorry, there's a mistake. I am checking the wrong. I'm checking the wrong inbox. Actually, I was supposed to check the inbox that we are sending the email to. That was like this one. So this is where you get the stuff from. So you see that I'm really just, as I was really surprised that why is it not going. So this is the email. As you can see, the first one was Alexander I think it was because I used the previous step that I used. That's why it's used this Alexander. We're supposed to use um, Franklin. Oh, why? So my inbox, everything just came in. Now I think this is the one we did. That was the one of Franklin, right? You check, you can see hi Frank, blah 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 blah. So I chose process mapping and you see something like this. This is exactly how the email. So this is very sweet actually. So this is the first use case, right? Where we get an automated email response. For the second use case is actually we have an assistant. We're going to build an assistant. And let's say we have an e-commerce store. So in this e-commerce store, we have we actually want to um, create an assistant, and then we want to give people detail about specific products, right? And then we want to use Zapier to call that function, right? So the first step is that we create an assistant right in our platform account. So if I come over here and I click on platform.openai.com, this is where we create our assistant. So that's the first thing we do. We create the assistant, rename the assistant, put some instruction, right? So that the assistant can know exactly what it's meant to do. So let me show you. So you come over to this dashboard. So if you click on dashboard, it will display every of the things that we can actually do right here in the dashboard. It's still loading. Still loading. It's still loading. Still loading. Still loading. So if I click on assistant, right, and this is where I'll be able to create my assistant, right? I'll just click on create assistant. I've created the assistant already, and the name of the assistant is called Jamie Store bot. So what I did was that I gave it some specific instructions. You're an expert sales assistant, and then your job is to provide response to customers that ask about specific products. Do not add additional detail and just give them the response. Right? Do not include the source file and in the response, which I know is going to disobey, right? I don't know why we included the name of the source file in this stuff, but there's a workaround around it. And then we added the model, right? And we added like this is like the main juice of the particular assistant. We can add files. So these files are like files of different products, the price, and some information about that product. So we can generate this particular stuff on ChatGPT. I come over here and I go to ChatGPT, and I think I did something around here. I just typed give me a product description of a Chinese ceiling fan, and you can see that I generated quite stuff and I copied it, right? You come over to your docs.google.com, right? So your Google Doc. So you come over there, and then what you do is that you create a new doc, right? And then you paste this value and you go from the ChatGPT, right? Just paste it. It is just one item per file. So you just paste the document right here, and then you come over to this file, and you click on download, right? And then you make sure you download it in form of PDF, right? So after I've done that, you can come over to the platform account, and then you upload every one of these. So now you see that we have Chinese golden ceiling fan, we have blue ceramic vase, we have vinyl wood, we have woolen knapsack. So these are like all of the products that we have, right? And then we are not really tweaking anything. After we have done that, then we can go back to the workflow. So in the workflow, what we did was that we have a particular trigger, and the trigger is like when I receive an new email matching search. So I'm saying, and this is more of like is in the documentation of Gmail. So I added from and I added a colon, right? And saying I added the email that I'm watching. So I'm saying if I receive any email from this particular email, right, I want it to trigger, right? And what we'll do now is instead of conversation, we're going to choose conversation with assistant, right? So that's exactly what we're going to choose. And then we'll just dump the email body from the Gmail here. And then we'll choose a bot called, that's like the Jamie Store bot assistant that we created, right? We just choose it here. And then we can now, we don't need to do anything. We just choose the name of the model, right? GPT-4 not, right? And when we do this, we just move and then continue to the next step, right? if you see, and now one thing I remember I told you guys that it's included something I really don't like. So let me show you exactly what I mean. So if you see this particular response that is generated, right, you can see that it's included the this is the price, and also included the source file. Like, this is very, very unprofessional. I really don't like it. So one thing I did is that there's a workaround. I used formatter by Zapier, and I used the same function, split text, and I put the inputs there, and I separated it by the square bracket. So I'm saying whenever I see the square bracket, separate it as two different fields. So that's exactly how I was able to work around that. And I added the thread ID, right? I'm replying to an email actually. So let me show you exactly. Then added the subject. Here's your inquiry, and the body. As you can see, the body is quite different. You see that I split it into two like different outputs. You see the previous one, the upper one is the one that we want, the lower one is the one that includes the source file. So we just got rid of that, and then we sent this particular score. So what will happen is that I will test this particular thing by making an inquiry. If I come over here and I click on my email, and I need an inquiry, right? I'll click on. So let me look at the name of the product. If I come over here and I search for the product, the vector for the product, right? I'm going to check the product that I want to inquire about. So let's say I want to know the price of the blue ceramic vase, right? So I come over here and I just say, what is the price of the blue ceramic vase, right? So if I click on this send, so that workflow will trigger, right? So but there's one thing I want to tell you about this workflow. This trigger is actually a polling trigger. So what do you mean by a polling trigger? A polling trigger is a trigger that polls. Like, what is polling? Polling is just like the process of going to a server. So what it goes, like Zapier sends an information to Gmail server to see if that particular stuff has happened every 2 minutes. So it is not instant. So it goes and polls every 2 minutes. Once it's another 2 minutes, it checks again. Okay, has something happened? So that's exactly what we mean by poll. It's not an instant trigger. So it's quite different from this trigger that we have here for the tally. You can see that it looks like a lightning. So immediately the form is submitted, you get the response. But for this particular one, it has to poll every 2 minutes. So you might not be able to get the response. Let me see if the response has come already. So this is not the response. Let me see if I can. I'll have to pause the video and wait for the response to come. So as you can see, the response is back. You can see here's your inquiry. The price of the blue ceramic is $45. So that's exactly how to like use this ChatGPT in combination with Zapier, right? So that's, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and then just do all the fun stuff about it. We'll see you guys in the next one.